So here we are, King's Casino Rosvadov. We have the final 8 of the 50k super high roller. We are 2 away from the money, 6 places paid. Total prize pool 2,350,000. There you see our chip leader in seat 1, Mustapha Kanit, with 11.4 million. Big Tony in seat 8. He's in a tough spot. He's the short stack with just 10 bigs, 1.6 million betting into the chip leader. I'm Simon Trumper, and I hope you're going to enjoy this.
Are going to raise, are going to call or fold. I'm sure he knew exactly how many chips he had, given they've just started the final table and Dietrich hasn't played a hand yet.
Now, I like this play from Big Tony. It's obviously, in most situations, you would shove with a 10 big blind stack. But everybody's playing so tight, he has elected to raise 350. Mustapha is going to make the call. King Queen suited. Surprised he didn't isolate there. Looking at Big Tony's stack size.
This is the problem though with just small raising with the 8 seat. He does invite action. If he jam there, it puts Mustapha in a much tougher position, having the call with all the other players behind him. Mustapha, with a hand that flops so well, electing not to 3-bet and maybe invite the pot to go multi-way. Really slightly curious as to why Big Tony hasn't just jammed all in.
Well, I have a theory. in most tournament situations, a lower buy-in, that's exactly what a player would do with 10 big blinds. I just think that the way the first few hands have gone, he just felt that that was the best way to play it.
Well, I think it's going to
he's come unstuck, obviously, because through Mustapha just flat in, it's allowed Timothy in on the big blind, and he's flop top pair, he's going nowhere. 2.5 million in the middle. He's just checking. Yeah, I've got a 9. Makes the call.
He will be our 8th place finisher.
No help on the turn. And no help on the river, so finishing in 8th place. Big Tony from Italy. We are down to 7 on the true bubble. Next player out receives nothing.
We were near close to the end.
Ha. And
here we go again. But this, I think he's going to shove again and get called this time.
yeah, they won't get this one through.
It's like 3.2. Just to get it. Pardon? To get an exact count.
And obviously Timothy making sure, but yeah, he can't fold.
Yeah.
Okay, 8s versus 6s. Timothy took out Big Tony, who had 8s, with his King 9, and is he now going to win with 8s against Patrick Antonius's 6s?
But he said also 6
And yeah, as I say, without a 6 here, Patrick will be the bubble boy, and Timothy will take a commanding chip lead if he were to hold in this spot. Of course, Patrick, the one man, we're less phased by the bubble.
Felipe, you actually rooting for someone.
Myself?
Yeah, so if you...
No help on the flop.
So you're rooting for...
Point of view, yeah.
Can hear the other players quietly railing for Timothy.
I'm rooting for Patrick. 6. No, I'm joking. Love this, bro.
Still no help. Unless it's a 6, Patrick will be the bubble boy.
No help on the river, and we lose Patrick Antonius in 7th place. We are now in the money. All 6 players will get paid today. 130,000 for the next player out, and I'm sure Patrick was a little bit disappointed there. Haven't played so well to make this 50k Super High Roller final after winning the very first 25k.
Here with Patrick Antonius. Patrick, I know that's definitely not the result that you wanted, but you were short stack coming in. What was your mindset coming into this final table?
Yeah, I didn't have many chips, so I don't know if it was second last or third last, but obviously make the money was the first goal. And unfortunately, I just had a kind of a situation that I didn't see any other move than pushing with my sixes and bubbled. Anyways, I played to win these tournaments, and it's. I know there was one player that had less chips than I had, and it sucks to not make the money, but you know, it's poker, and you have to take risks, and and this happened today.
Well, you're still walking away a winner here in Rosvadov. At least you clinched that 25K super high roller. So there is that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a good trip overall.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll see you again. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
And Patrick there, obviously quite right. Disappointed to bust out, but pragmatic about it. And as he says, you just got to play the hands you're dealt. You can come in with a strategy of trying to outlast someone, but he got dealt a situation there that needed him to shove.
Yeah, Timothy Adams, once he became chip leader, was raising several times in a row. Patrick folded his big blind to him and then moved on him the next time and was unlucky to actually find him with a real hand the third time. Dietrich on the button has an ace.
Yeah, and only just over 12 big blinds, so this will be a shove for Dietrich.
6 raise all in.
Timothy's got ace-8 suited behind.
See, he asked for a count and then instantly looked at Mustapha, trying to get a read to see if he's interested in the spot. Far more concerned about Mustapha than Dietrich.
2,065,000.
And unless he picks something up off Mustapha, I can't imagine him folding this hand. He knows Dietrich's going to be shoving a very wide range of hands for 12 big blinds and the shortest stack at the table.
He makes the
7
call.
call, 1 pass.
Mustapha folds 10-7 of hearts.
Bad news for Dietrich.
Okay, so is Dietrich Fast going to be our 6th place finisher? Chip leader with 14.2 million, Timothy Adams. Could be about to go to 16 million.
Okay.
And a complete nothing flop for both players. So Dietrich left with just the 7 to hit. And if he doesn't hit it, he will be the 6th place finisher. Felt even... Well, sorry, he does have a few split outs. If it was a pair, the 3 or the 5. He does not, and we will lose Dietrich in 6th place. And that further moves Timothy up the leaderboard, or further improves his chip lead, I should say. Huge 18 million chip stack now. Of course, only 47 million in play. Each player started with 1 million chips.
So this final table's been going for only 30 minutes, and we've already lost 3 players. Dietrich Fast from Germany there, eliminated in 6th, and he's won 130,000, doesn't look too unhappy. He came to the final table, second short stack, 3 million chips, and he's managed to leave this tournament in profit. So we are now down to 5 players, next payout 180,000.
Here with Dietrich Fast. Dietrich, I'm sure there's mixed emotions here. You did make the money, so you are walking away with 130,000 euros, which is nice, but of course everyone's eyeing that first prize.
Yeah, that's true. And you have to consider I paid 50,000, so it's just 80,000 I made. It's an alright payday, but if you go to a final table, you always try to win the tournament, and it's always, no matter what, if you even you get 2nd place, you're still not happy with the finish because you're always trying to win. So
yeah. Feels slightly better than being bubble, but still.
Yeah, that's for sure. That was my first goal. I was I think 2nd last in chips, so try to get into the money and then try to go from there. And at least that one goal, the small step, I could achieve. But yeah, I hope for more. But it's not always. Christmas, you know.
Yeah. It's not always New Year's either. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dietrich.
Yeah, thank you.
So, of course, at the moment, the logical winner of this, as the way it's going, is Timothy Adams, but that can all change very quickly as the blinds increase and one of the shorter stacks doubles up.
Michael raising up in the cutoff here with ace-9. Not the most envious seats, raising into the 2 big stacks behind him. Just over 20 big blinds. Don't know how Timothy obviously wants to get frisky, wants to keep applying pressure, but Michael hasn't really played a hand yet. Maybe just let this one go. Oh, he has decided to call.
Well, Mustapha has to have a bad hand not to call there as well. Now, well, we saw how Timothy outplayed Tobias earlier. Let's see how he plays this hand.
Yeah, this one feels a little thin to me. But Timothy playing the rush. Awkward. Michael will be thinking the kind of hands Timothy's going to call me with out of the small blind probably don't connect with this board too often. You shouldn't be playing small cards. No. Has checked back, maybe going for the delayed c-bet.
7 check.
And Timothy knows full well it's hard to represent too many hands on this board. And because Michael's checked, he might have some sort of hand he'd call with, like an ace-high. I couldn't see him folding ace-high if Timothy bet here.
3 check.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here if Timothy puts a bet out now.
Yeah.
He knows that there's no chance that Michael's got a spade. He checked the flop. He would have put a little bet in on the turn.
Yeah, it's interesting. Michael obviously took the decision to try and take ace-9 high to showdown. This river, here we go.
7 bet, 250.
And a very small bet. But by betting so small, he opens up the value bet range to include lots of spades. This is something Michael will be thinking of. If he bet bigger, he's trying to say, I've only got a very strong flush. This way, he's saying, I've almost got any flush, making it more likely he has a value betting hand than a... Wow.
You win.
What a call by Michael. Incredible call. And the first time we've seen Timothy really lose a pot. So the blinds are up.
Yep,
100,
200.
Hello.
New dealer.
Yes.
And we have Mustapha Kanit in seat 1, Tobias Ziegler in seat 2, Michael Zhang from the UK in seat 3, Felipe Ramos in seat 4, and Timothy Adams, our chip leader, in seat 6. These players, part of the 47 entries that played the 50k Super High Roller here at King's Rosvedov, accumulating 2.35 million, and first place is 800,000. Runner-up gets $500,000. Sounds good, doesn't it? 362,500 for third, 260 for fourth, and next player out will receive 180,000.
And this is an interesting spot for Michael. He knows Mustapha's raising a lot of hands, and with just 22 big blinds, Queen 10 suited is an attractive proposition for the 3-bet jam. It's one of these, if he had 16 big blinds, it's so much easier to do than with 22. And the small ante comes into a factor as well, just that little bit less in the pot to fight over. I like to play it as a call. A lot of good flops for Queen 10 suited.
And Felipe will not be defending with 7 deuce, surely.
No.
So, heads up to the flop. Michael with Queen 10 of hearts and Mustapha with Queen 9.
And well, interesting flop for Michael. He has flopped a pair, but there are 3 diamonds and an ace on board. Mustapha with a 9 of diamonds, so lots of equity he might not necessarily be wild about. Imagine a good spot for continuation, but there aren't many ace-x hands that Michael will be flat calling with out of the small blind.
One bet, 325.
And as before, same as Timothy, his c-bet is smaller than the pre-flop raise. Michael probably going to call once, give it up if a diamond comes. Probably go check on the turn if a diamond doesn't come. That's a perfect blank.
3 check.
I would like to see Mustapha continue the pressure here, really. He knows Michael doesn't have a strong ace. He may have flopped a flush, but unlikely. It would have to be
Michael did consider raising pre-flop, didn't he?
Yeah, but it would have to be almost Queen Jack of diamonds. You can't see him flat calling pre-flop with 8-9 of diamonds. King Jack of diamonds, he's probably going to jam. 10 of diamonds on the board, so he can't have a hand like Queen 10 of diamonds or Jack 10 of diamonds. There just aren't that many hands Michael can have here.
$650,000 this time, about a third of the pot.
600.
Well worked out there from Mustapha.
He now believes that Mustapha did have an ace after all.
And as you say, it's a spot raise leveraged the stack very well. He might not have made that play against another big stack, but because he knows by betting that 60, there's such a significant proportion of Michael's chips. It really puts him in a tough spot.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we saw Timothy do earlier against Tobias.
And here we go with our chip count. You can see Michael and Felipe, the small stacks, 19 big blinds. Timothy, close to 100 big blinds. And I'm very happy to announce that
I'm just waiting for Timmy to go.
I am joined now in the booth by Marcel Lusk, Party Poker Pro and Ambassador.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be in the booth, especially with games like this.
Yes. I love it's awesome to be watching a 50k super high roll and seeing the cards these guys play. Next up, we'll receive 180,000 euros. Fourth, 260, third, 362. So these guys with the short stacks really playing a weird secondary game to the big stacks to see, you know, they double their money if they just outlast 2 more spots. So Michael, 16 big blinds in the small blind here. Just him and Felipe left in the hand. Felipe with a very similar stack.
Family.
This
Finland.
is really bad as well. They look good together.
I'm not going to go to Macau because it's the same time.
And this is when you have 2 short stacks like this on a final table. Winning, it's almost like winning a pot off the other short stack is so much more valuable, right? Because you make him shorter and yourself bigger. Timothy looks pretty relaxed, doesn't he? Lounge back in the chair, big chip lead.
He walked in and he straight up to the side where you can hold yourself and pull yourself up. He did it a couple of times, looked around, and he walked out again.
Well, if he wins this tournament, it may become the workout of choice for players before a final table.
Well, I try to do the same. I go in and stay a little bit longer. And just think it helps, and then.
Well, this looks like trouble for Felipe. Mustapha raising it up with ace queen under the gun. Felipe with under 20 big blinds and ace jack. It's hard to see him doing anything but going all in here.
He probably is going to shove.
And this is great news for Michael.
For all in?
It's really a setup, isn't it?
How much is it?
500.
Like a little under 4.
Mustapha will ask for a count, but we'll see it's short stack.
I don't see him folding. Eh?
No. But Felipe's probably loving life when he gets asked for a count. He's thinking they're on.
Oh yeah, he thinks
it's the best hand.
3 million, 980.
He might end up with the best hand.
980.
Crying call with the best hand.
Yeah, I'm surprised Mustapha hasn't called already.
He knows how tight he plays.
Right. And he
But
has
it's
called.
you still cannot fold.
And Felipe sees the bad news. Unless he mounts a jack, straight or a flush, he will be the 5th place finisher. Of course, a big pot. If he were to win, he's right back in the game with 8 million. If Mustapha wins, then it very solidifies position in second.
Philip thinks, where's the jack where you need it?
And a 6, 7, 10 flop, no help. Felipe does pick up backdoor flush draw, but Mustapha has a higher club.
9 would be a nice card for Philip.
Of course, yeah, you can make 8,
4
9.
more outs.
And that card makes it interesting because he can now hit a 10 or a 7 for a chop, which I'm sure Felipe would take at this moment in time.
He will take it any time now. He don't mind which 10 or which 7. Surprise, surprise.
And a queen will seal Felipe's fate. Unlucky to leave us in 5th place, but he will pick up 180,000 euros for his efforts. Not a bad day's work.
Good game, bro.
It's not bad to go out of any competition.
You had the hoodie at this final.
Money like this.
Now you see a smile on his face there, but all these players, as you rightly said, they all want to win titles.
Yeah.
Money, secondary once they reach the final table is the money, right?
No pink chips.
No pinks.
Needle.
No, I have here.
Mustapha shoots back
They
up.
discussed now that he was thinking so long. They say, I think. It was not the way. It's just like they take their time to know the situation.
Here with Felipe Ramos, Felipe out in 5th, taking home 180K clean. I know it's still upsetting, but what's so beautiful about your story is you have so many people railing you and you have so much support back home. In Brazil, it's about 3 or 4 hours back and everyone got up early to support you, right?
Yeah, first of all, very nice talking to you. And yeah, very happy about all the support from my countrymen. Actually, it's like carnival in Brazil and it's very early, so it's like really hard to compete, like put people to watch us while they're partying and having fun. But that's really a blessing. Like so many pictures I got, so many replies, people actually like watching the stream and cheering. Very hard for a Brazilian. Right here in the -3 today, cold, very far from home, and very blessed to live this life and have these people with me. Like this is like my true blessing.
Yeah, well, you've been to many high roller final tables, and it's your wonderful attitude that brings you back to many more. So best of luck in the future. Thank you, Felipe.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
So we have Mustapha, you see there, with 86 big blinds now. Timothy with around 90. So these two, by far and away, the biggest stacks at the table.
Yeah, but you know how quick that can turn.
Sure,
you know,
a couple
when
of all
you
ins,
look at
right?
somebody, and the shorter the table gets, the more it depends on the hands coming out, and you have to be really careful to see which hand you're going to put your money on.
Of course, we'll see with only 4 players at the table, you have to play a lot more hands, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
like they both have a great hand now because he hit second pair.
Yeah,
the Jack 8 is feeling like, you know, the only card that beats him is a queen, actually.
So Timothy has limped in from the small. Mustapha checked the big blind with Jack 8 suited. The flop is Queen 8-4. Timothy top pair, Mustapha second pair, and Timothy coming straight out betting. So there's obviously no way Mustapha can do anything here but call, right? Or call and see a turn.
Yeah, he can just call to see the next card. Or if he really know where he's at, then he raise him, but then he might walk into a trap.
Right.
So
he has a backdoor flush draw as well. Makes a bit more attractive proposition, right, to call, and there are a lot of good turn cards to Mustapha.
Probably would call. But look.
Oh, he has indeed actually gone for a raise. That surprise you?
One raise, 800.
It does surprise me because now he wants to know if he have a queen.
Right.
This is what he actually looking at. But he don't know if he have a better queen. So it's like the decision he makes to find out now where he's at to get. If he calls, he gets a turn card.
Right, he can check back the turn.
And then he can have the river card as well.
Okay, and of course, on a board like Queen 8, forward 2 diamonds, part of it maybe protecting in case Timothy has a gut shot
you got
or
a lot of
overcards,
a lot of cards
draw.
that could give him a hand.
Right.
So
it's a protection and also to see what's going on. And an interesting card there.
That's a great card for Mustapha, actually. He get the flush, but he's protected now against if he have a queen.
Right. So you think because he's raised, he can get this river for free? You think he's likely to check back here? Or do you think maybe he knows he's up against the queen now, and now I need to bluff and try and get him off?
If he's going to make a bluff, like acting like he has a king, like he has a diamond or king jack in his hand or something, now he's going to go for the free ride.
And
that
repeats the queen.
That didn't work.
Well, obviously a kind of unfortunate card for Mustapha, right? Because it makes it less likely Timothy has a queen when he can see 2 on the board and make him think his 8's a little bit stronger than it was.
He might call if Timothy bets it. He might call if he value bets it.
Right. Obviously, you could put him on a lot of draws, and these are the 2 chip leaders, but runaway chip leaders. Much more interesting dynamic when you're playing a final table and 2 of you have got huge stacks. You don't particularly want to play big pots with each other.
No, certainly not. You're going to use the other players still in the game to get positions, get advantage.
Right, you want to leverage the short stacks.
See hands, see how they play. Try to get your opponent to expose, because he is his biggest opponent at the moment. And sometimes you put him in a bad spot by betting between you and the third person who's in the pot to squeeze play him, to get him out or to let him get into danger.
And Timothy with a huge bet here, more than pot. Trying to maybe make it look like a busted draw.
Well, this is now, he puts him on the test to think about it. He knows he has the best hand.
Right.
So he goes like, make it look like it's a bluff. Likely.
Yep.
Gives him the best chance to get a call from a weaker pair.
And a very tough spot for Mustapha, right?
Yes. This is nothing to do with, oh, you played that well because you called it or you folded. It's just like a decision you make. Feeling robbed, feeling like he tried to bluff himself this pot. You know, or not.
So Mustapha obviously just trying to work out.
I think he's going to fold it based on knowing that you don't have to lose big money with a hand like this. You get better opportunities. And you have to give him credit for calling the flop when he bets it.
Right, he's called a raise.
So this would be a minor extra to give him in this 50-50 decision.
Yeah, he knows Timothy would play every queen he has this way, right? He'd bet the flop, he'd call a raise, and he'd bet the river with 3 of a kind. He's certainly having some deep consideration over it. It's not always so easy when you're in the seat.
No, it's easy when the hand is played. Now everybody's going to say he should fold.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
This is why I don't like the commentary when the cards are open most of the time, when players don't explain what's going on in their head.
Sure.
It's easy to see what's going on because the cards are there. We know who's going to win.
And of course, strategically as well, he knows if he were to call this pot, that in his mind he's thinking, well, then I'd be chip leader, and if I win and I have position on the other guy, maybe this is something that's going through his head. But on the flip side, if I call and lose, I give Timothy even more of my chips. He gets further ahead as a chip leader.
The is when he folds and he turns him over a bluff. Then you feel like done.
And he has.
Here is the small percentage I told you that he will choose for.
Yeah, and he's
this
made
is
it.
Because these players are so experienced and know, and they make up their mind. They're betting with the purpose.
Welcome back to the King's Casino, Rosvadov, and the Party Poker Live Millions Germany Super High Roller event, where we are down to just 4. Felipe Ramos, the last man out. His ace-jack busted by Mustapha Kanit's ace-queen. Felipe goes home with 180,000 euros and perhaps a sense of what could have been. The winner here in Rosvadov will take home 800,000 euros.
When we all, yeah, cool. When we all decide to come back.
Of course, with Felipe's exit, it means we are down to just these 4 remaining players, and it will be one of these walking away with that 800,000 euro prize, and of course the title of Super High Roller Champion.
1 pass, 2 pass.
Timothy raising up a King 10 suited under the gun here. Michael ace queen in the big blind, and it looks like 16 big blinds. So imagine an all in here. Yeah. And Timothy with somewhat of a decision, King 10 suited, right?
3.4.
Can you give me 1 stick?
5, 6. 3.7.
Well, he's not gonna call it.
Okay, yeah, it's Michael's played very snug so far, but as we can see, 40% equity against some of the hands he's shoving with.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Timothy is not gonna call.
He's going to protect the situation he's in, right? Doesn't want to give anyone a cheap double up.
Oh, he's gonna damage his stack. Tremendous if he's gonna lose a hand like this.
Right, yeah, he wants to keep that lead over Mustapha, right?
Yes. There's nothing wrong with playing the hand, but once you're in a situation like this, it's a king high. You know, and it's a nice hand to see a flop with.
It's 3,000,000.
710.
18.
Maybe thinking if Michael had a small pair, he'd want to call, but
You see, I cannot see him calling.
yeah, no, I agree. It's
It wouldn't make sense. And the player he is, you know, playing so good.
he's playing good, right? He's winning pots without contesting
It
them.
would really surprise me if he would call it.
Yeah.
Anybody else
can
goes
do it,
like,
yeah.
well, you know, I have a nice hand, and it's it.
King Jack, I call.
King Jack.
Well, there we go. So it was on the borderline for him. Obviously, he knows Michael now is by far the shortest stack. Maybe a bit more liberal with the hands he might go all in with. That maybe played into his thought
Well, he
process.
saw him going all in with 10-8 before, you know, the hand.
Yeah.
With Philippe, 5 failed, 4
Yeah, when there was
folded.
just the 2 of them left in the pot.
And he saw him going all in as first one. Now it's different. He opened for 400,000.
Yeah.
2.
He knows Michael will not go in
100.
unless he brings a hand.
He has to have a real hand, right? It can't be just no hand.
Each situation is totally different.
And here we have Tobias raising up King 7 suited, just over 30 big blinds on the button. Timothy with Ace 10 in the big blind. Obviously going to play the hand. Could we raise? Could flat?
Oh, he could raise, he could flat, just like you said. And it's not like we wait for him to do it, but it's a decision. I don't see him. He just lost the pot small. I just see him calling like I should do that. I'm not in my zone. I want to see. I want to keep it quiet.
Right. And knowing maybe as well, if it does come ace high, it looks a bit more deceptive because he's just scored. And Tobias has taken the lead on the Queen 7-5 a rainbow flop.
He's going to check. He's going to bet it. He's going to fold it.
He will fold. You think he'll just fold? He maybe.
He will fold it.
Okay.
That's what I think. Based on the fact that
He
how
thinks
he
maybe.
plays the hand.
Right. You think maybe Tobias as well less likely to bluff Timothy because he's such a big chip leader.
He's not comfortable now with the band. He don't know what to defend. He could hit the ace and still be losing in the end.
Well, he does decide to call, maybe feeling ace high is the best hand now,
I'm very surprised.
and Tobias may be less likely to bluff him, so he thinks he can get to showdown.
Very surprised that he did make the call.
And now an interesting spot for Tobias. Does he think he has the best hand? Does he
think what is he calling with? 6-8?
Okay, and
that's a good card.
Did go check. Timothy maybe thinks he himself has the best hand, right? Maybe Tobias took one stab at it and has given up.
In his position now, he could bet out.
All right.
Then he acting like he does have the queen.
Okay. But maybe thinking...
He might think he put him off any card now.
There's an argument maybe thinking Tobias has no hand he can check and Tobias can't really bluff him. Obviously, we imagine Tobias would just check back here and he's going to win the pot.
Turn, please.
I was surprised he called a bet out of position, looking for to get a shot, to get a jack, so you have a straight draw, or get an ace, and you don't know where he is. So.
And Timothy opening up with Jack 7 suited. Definitely been the most active player at the table. Mustapha with
if he doesn't do it, then Mustapha will take it.
Right, yeah, because
so
they're raising into the.
Have to lead.
Okay, both raising into the shorter stack, so he doesn't want to
Depends on the position, who's first, but they're going to open up a lot of hands.
And Mustapha obviously calling with ace 10.
And they know how careful their opponents have to play.
And now a really interesting spot for Michael, right? He knows Timothy's raising a lot of hands. Mustapha's just called, so maybe he can remove the best hands from his range and
move all in. It's just aggression.
And this
he knows he will get somebody else.
And it's a tough spot for Mustapha right here. He's just flat call pre. Maybe it looks weak. He knows Timothy's opening a lot of hands. Michael probably going to push his luck here with a lot of hands.
To play.
Yeah, but Mustapha now, this is probably right on a tough spot for him with ace 10, right?
Oh, for him, of course, because you have to give him a made hand. The best he can find him with is like king queen or 9s, 8, but he can find it with ace jack, ace queen.
But could he? Is there something he's thinking he'll shove with any ace here? Does he think?
No.
Michael will.
I don't think he can give Michael an ace 4 or something.
Right. Because if he did, obviously he'd have to instantly call, right?
Yeah.
And a very disciplined laydown. Michael manages to make him fold the better hand.
We are now four-handed here at the Party Poker Live Million Super High Roller Event final table. That is a mouthful. I'm here with Timothy Adams. Timothy, you're sitting with a pretty cozy stack right now. How are you feeling?
Good. I mean, I've been in this spot before, so yeah, I'm comfortable. I'm used to this. Yeah.
Lovely. And how did you get ready for today? I know you're really into meditating, getting focused, doing some yoga. Any of that?
Actually, last night I was so tired I just passed out. Woke up this morning, went to the spa, just like jumped in the pool, came here. That's it.
Nothing more therapeutic than actual sleep. All right, wishing you the very best.
Great.
Thanks, Timothy.
Thanks. Michael definitely gaining some momentum on this final. We saw the first couple of orbits, he didn't really play a hand, but being the most active player in the last sort of 10-15 minutes.
Well, you know, even sometimes when you're on the table, you have the lowest stack of chips.
7 raise, 400.
You can still be in charge.
Right. Yeah.
And this is what I feel like when I see Michael playing. He looks like he's always in charge.
Right.
He's always leading.
Okay.
Somehow.
So he's very like a strong player. He's very commanding.
Yeah.
So Timothy raising it up, Queen 6 suited. Tobias in the big blind with pocket 8s. Alex to call, and we will see a flop of ace 6-5. Well, huge flop for Timothy, a pair and a flush draw. Tobias still with the best hand and a pair of 8s.
He's going to bet it.
And a decision for Tobias when he does better, right? Because he can't just assume Timothy has an ace. Timothy's raising so many hands on the button that he has to check call, I guess.
Yeah. 7 bet, 250.
And again,
he's gonna call.
Timothy with a very small continuation bet. So Tobias thinking here what to... We know he's not folding, so is he thinking maybe of raising sometimes here or just of calling?
No, he's going to call it. Yes.
And he has?
I think like he have the ace himself. Or, like this makes it better for Tobias.
That's a much stronger
Very
hand.
obvious. So now he feels like, okay, that's an improvement. If he had me beat already with the ace, I would
Still
think
is,
anyway.
but there's less combinations of hands. That
But if he would have 9s or 10s, can he really bet it out now against
Right.
unknown? Because he don't know the 8.
So Timothy
So
himself,
it makes the game very interesting.
Timothy himself, of course, will think his hand's very strong. Right? Aside from an ace, he would imagine he's probably ahead with his 6, right? He probably doesn't give Tobias too many pair combinations.
Well, I have to give him credit for calling.
So he might be thinking he has an ace.
Somehow.
Yeah.
So
you'd expect him maybe to check
when
back
he
here.
bets it, he act like he have an ace, which he don't have. His hand getting weaker and stronger, the way you look at it.
Strong bet. 850.
He has
He
bet. He's
still
gone,
put pressure on him.
so he's gone for a half pot size bet.
Yeah, because he got protection. That's the choice he make.
And-
Many players would check it now.
And is part of this bet thinking he might be behind, but he doesn't expect Tobias necessarily to check raise. If he does have an ace, he'll just call, thinking Timothy might bluff the river so he gets to see his clubs. Because obviously he wouldn't want to bet clubs here and get raised and not get to see the river, right? So does he make this bet knowing Tobias won't raise him, even if he has the ace?
But I like him the way he calls the bet still.
2 call.
And he will
From his
call.
position, because he knows what Timothy is capable of.
Right,
doing.
okay. And of course,
But
already
normally in any game, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, the opponent folds in a position like this with a medium pair.
and now with 3.4 million in the pot, the river is a 7, and as you expect, he's gone
Now-
check quickly.
Showdown.
Tobias will win.
8? Yeah.
Obviously, Timothy realizing on the river that Tobias either has a hand that's going to call, or he has the best hand with his 6, right? Maybe he could still beat some flush draws.
Well, yeah, you have to give him credit for he might have the ace.
Of course, yeah. He's not going to fold an ace from the big blind, right?
Then he goes like, well, I missed it. Let's reduce my losses. I still have showdown value with my pair of 6s.
Yeah, so he can. There's still some hands he can beat, right? Yeah, so here is our leaderboard. Timothy Adams still the chip leader with 15 million. Mustapha Kanit nipping on his heels at 14 million. Tobias comfortable with 11, and Michael still the short stack despite his recent run of cards on 6 million for 31 big blinds.
But you see how it ease out.
Sure, if Michael.
I mean, if you look at it, then it's anybody's game.
If
isn't
Michael
it?
doubles up, right, he's right in the mix. He'll be on 12 million.
Well, he definitely will give them a run for their money.
And here you can see our payouts: 800,000 for the winner, and a 260 for the next person out. Obviously, Felipe Ramos left us in 5th place for 180,000, and Dietrich busted out in 6th for 130. This is interesting. Mustapha's played a lot of hands from the small blind, and he's called with all them so far, and he continues that strategy. It's good to see. You don't want to be just raising up with your good hands and limping with your bad hands. You'll get exploited. So because he's limped these other hands, he kind of has to limp this hand. Tobias, interesting. I would have expected him to raise with King 9 there, given the hands that Mustapha has limped, but luckily for him, he's elected to check and not fall into the trap. But unfortunately for him, he has caught a piece of this board, and it's hard not to see him losing some chips here.
Full bet. 325.
And a half pot bet from Mustapha. Tobias, no real option here other than to call. And too weak to raise, too strong to fold.
He does indeed make the call. This pot is now 1.4 million.
3 call.
And a bad card for Tobias. Both players will like that card.
Yeah, Mustapha will know pretty much where he is now. Figure that he has flopped a pair, his opponent, so we'll try to extract a bit more value.
Yeah, it's a question of how strong he thinks Tobias is, as to how much he can extract with these pair of jacks. Obviously, there is also the chance he can be behind. You wouldn't normally think on a board like this there is, but Tobias just checked the big blind, so he can have hands like 10-4, 10-3, 9-4, 9-3. But
yeah,
Mustapha has to play against his entire range, which he's well ahead of.
Yeah, but having not raised, he's not likely to be having Jack Queen suited, King Jack King Queen.
Precisely.
Any aces, so it polarises his hand. He's going to get another 850,000.
Yeah, he has to call this one really, and at least see one more card. Fold the river is an option.
9 or a king? No.
Wow.
Jack for Mustapha.
It's actually a bad card for Mustapha, as crazy as it sounds. Tobias would think that a lot of the hands that Mustapha's bet twice that he is beating are hands like Queen Jack, King Jack, you know, Jack 8, 7-8. In fact, the only worst card for him really could have been the Jack of Diamonds. Mustapha obviously will know now he's almost certainly got the best hand, only losing to 7-8. King Queen, of course, would have most certainly raised pre-flop. And because of that, Tobias also knows that Mustapha's least likely to bluff this card. He must have thought Tobias looks like he might have a hand like Queen Jack. Or
Be interesting to see how much he bets. He bet half the pot, then he bet a third of the pot.
Looks like 2/3 pot this time.
He bet 325 on the flop, 850 on the turn, and now 2.1. Well, that card could save Tobias a few chips here, because any undercard he probably would have called.
And it's interesting because these guys have played quite a few pots, small blind to big blind, limped, and Mustapha this is the first time he's taken this line of aggression. Every other time he's checked the flop, so he does piece it all together, and a little bit fortunate maybe that river it made the decision a lot easier. And as is the case on a farm table, every pot's a big pot. You know, these are shifts. Moves Mustapha further out into the lead, takes some out of Tobias.
So we're 45 hands into the final table, and it's Mustapha Kanit leading the way. 16 million of the 47 million chips on the table sit in front of him. The top three, though, are all pretty evenly stacked. It's Michael Zhang who needs the double up.
Such a big character in the poker world. We're alluding to a lot of people who have been on watching, supporting him. You may think, well, of course they've been quiet. They're playing for 800,000 euros, but these guys do this fairly regularly. But you need that catalyst sometimes at the table, the talkative guy, the character.
500.
Easy fold for Tobias, 10-4 in the small blind. Michael, King 3. There are times when I would let this go actually. It's you can't always defend in the big blind.
No, 23 big blinds. He's got a king. I think personally I'd let this one go. Just you're basically playing one card, doesn't flop too well. I know obviously a lot of the time you'll have the best hand. This is of course the other option. Put it on him.
Well, we would have both folded. Michael decides that he's going to raise, but and he gets it through.
This is obviously better than calling.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Has he taken the position that Mustapha's going to raise with a lot of hands from the button into the two shorter stacks? So Mustapha raising it up. Tobias, 30 big blinds, ace-jack offsuit on the button. This is a spot, Simon, where I feel like, you know, he almost certainly has the best hand. But is it strong enough to 3-bet, call a 4-bet with? Probably not, especially when there's been no dynamic established so far of light 3-betting. So going for a call, and we'll just play some flops.
Yeah.
With this, we haven't seen light 3-betting yet. It allows players to open more hands because they're just not getting exposed.
Jack would be a bit costly.
And a dream flop for Mustapha, top pair, backdoor flush draw.
I'll go there. It's too late. I'll do it next time. There's a call. We've got ice in the UI.
But 500?
Okay, so we can see here Mustapha continuation betting. Top pair. Tobias. This is obviously the problem with I advocate what he did, flat calling, but you do get these awkward situations now. You don't. Mustapha could have any of this. Tobias will make a call. See a turn card.
Hoping that Mustapha was just c-betting with a weak race or king queen.
Wow, what a turn card. Tobias takes the lead. Mustapha improves to a flush draw. Yeah, I mean, I would have done the same as Tobias there. You can't just give up on the pot.
No. I think some of the reason that he didn't raise on the button is because he'd just seen Mustapha lay down to a 3-bet from Michael, and quite often players will get a bit stubborn.
Yeah, it's just if he 3-bets, he doesn't know if he gets full bet, if it's a real hand or a bluff. It's just he plays a guessing game, and you don't want to guess for 800,000 euros.
So on the flop, Mustapha went ahead with his jack-8 catching top pair. Tobias has caught up on the turn with the ace. If he bets, we know Mustapha's calling. It's a pair with a flush draw, can improve to 2-pair trips or a flush.
And Mustapha, with probably the more interesting decision on this street, having improved to a flush draw, decides to check. He probably feels like he's either way ahead or way behind. Tobias having a worse hand on the flop, or an ace if he were to proceed. So check here, allow Tobias to manage to chip back, and that's a terrible card for him. He's saving graces, obviously the.
Well, he didn't bet the turn.
But any sixes are straight. It's something that may save him. He's not like to put Mustapha on a flush draw, on a flush at all, because if Mustapha raised pre-flop, bet the flop, and improved to flush draw, almost certainly he's going to bet the turn.
Mustapha's checked.
And that's probably why Mustapha's doing this. He's praying somehow Tobias has a 6. Please bet if you've got a 6, and then Mustapha can put a big raise in. And it's really hard for Tobias to piece together a hand that Mustapha somehow has a flush. It would have to be 8-something of diamonds. And even then, he probably bets the turn. Or 7-something of diamonds.
Mustapha thinking, gosh, I hope he flatted on the button with 6s.
Yeah, I mean, Tobias has to bet here. He has to think his ace is good. And then he's going to get a horrible check raise when he does bet.
2.6 million in the pot. He's counting it out. Oh, he's going big.
Yeah.
1.5 million.
It's a
Christmas for Mustapha.
He's trying to make it look like he's got a 6 or nothing. You know, there's not that many hands he can value bet with. Tobias will think it doesn't look like he's got an ace because he would have bet it on the turn. So he's really saying, I've got a straight.
Now, if you was Mustapha here, would you go for the all-in, put him under maximum pressure and hope that he has got a 6?
Yeah, when you raise here, you've got to go all in. You've got to hope your opponent has a 6, and it's really tough for him to lay down a 6. There's not many other hands he's going to call a check raise with, so you may as well go big.
Yeah. Tobias 5 million behind. Will be put to the test in a second. Mustapha just waiting to announce those 2 words. He'll look at the dealer and say, all in. He knows exactly what stack size Tobias has.
I'm surprised. It's like he's piecing out slightly less than all in.
4.2 million.
4,200,000.
Tobias just threw up a little bit in his throat.
Are you surprised at that bet there? Do you not think it would have
There's, I mean,
the all-in would have possibly worked better for him?
All in, I think, is the standard play there, but there's all sorts of stuff going on.
Right.
We don't know the history of these two players. I don't know how often they get in these situations. He's obviously trying to say something with the slightly less than all in. It could be saying, it could be trying to make it look fake stronger, trying to make fake weaker. We just, you know. It's not up to us to second guess someone like a Mustapha. He is Italy's all-time money winner. And over $10 million in live earnings.
So at this stage now, Tobias has to piece the whole hand together, doesn't he? He has to now go through the whole hand. So what happened? He raised on the flop. I called on the button. He bet the flop. I called. I caught the ace on the turn. We both checked.
Well,
he's check raised me on the river. What has he possibly got? And I'll tell you what, he's gone through that, worked it all out very quickly, and that's why these guys are sat playing a 50k super high roller. A lot of players would have gone broke in that hand. 50k super high roller in King's Casino, Rosvadov. We had 47 entries in this tournament. We got down to 8 at 1:30 this morning. They came back 12 o'clock. 6 got paid. We lost 2 players winning 130 and 180 respectively. We're down to the final 4.
I'm here, Tobias, with a must jam. 15 big blinds now after the first hand, the new level, and a pair of 6s. No doubt he'll move all in. So as you were saying, these players always take a bit of time considering. You don't want to give off too many timing tells on all these spots.
Here it goes.
Sure enough, the double-handed. See, he's got a lot of chips, Simon.
Yeah. So it's just all about.
It's all about the volume.
Right. Okay.
Oh, interesting spot. Very interesting. I can't see him
for a
folding.
count. Michael's got 6.9. Tobias has got 4.5.
Yeah, he knows Tobias. He'll be very aware that Tobias is shoving exactly the kind of hands he should shove with 15 big blinds. These guys all know their shove ranges perfectly. And ace-9 of clubs definitely falls into the call here. So I imagine he'll probably have a look.
He'll go all in, won't he?
Yeah. I mean, handle play.
He has to go all in.
I think he'll have a little look at Timothy and see if he can pick up anything to see how interested he is, just in case. But he will be playing this. It's not as clear cut as saying that some people will maybe watching will say, "Oh, Tobias is an even easier call because
so
Tobias."
Michael has gone all in, as we expected. Now Timothy hasn't really got a hand he can call with, so he folds. Tobias at risk here. His pocket 6s are in front at the moment. This is for a pot that could elevate Michael into close second in chips, and we could lose Tobias.
Yeah, if he wins it, this will really even up 3-way.
I don't think the rest of the players are too worried about the 102,000 jump, but we'd like to see what happens. Here's the flop.
And wow, he's see there, Michael smashed it pretty hard. Tobias though, backdoor straight door, backdoor flush draw, and he can still hit a 6.
Here comes the turn.
Mustapha too busy eating his fish by the looks of it to really care what's going on.
No improvement on the turn.
That's pretty casual, isn't it, Simon? There's a 100k jump and one guy's just eating his food, not even watching.
He's not even watching the action. 6 on the river, or we lose Tobias Ziegler in 4th place. No, it's a king, and 4th place for Tobias Ziegler. He wins 260,000 euros, and we are down to 3. And at this point, I'm going to leave James in the capable hands of Jack Sinclair. He's going to join us. Jack, if you don't already know who he is, I'm sure he'll introduce himself, and hopefully we'll have some great analysis during this short-handed play. And, Michael, having started with 4.8, one of the shortest stacks, has now got himself in a position where he could win this tournament.
Right, okay, here we have a look at our payouts as we just went through. 800,000 for first, 500 second, 362,000 for third. And you can see we lost Tobias in fourth, Felipe in fifth, and Dietrich in sixth. And of course, if you weren't with us at the time, Mr. Patrick Antonius was our bubble boy. I'm sure the 425,000 euros he won for winning the 25k the other day will help soften that blow.
Here with Tobias Ziegler. Tobias, pretty nice payday for you, 260,000. Obviously, I know that's not the result that you wanted, but at least you got to sit at the table with your idol, Antonius.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed, obviously, because I lost the flip, and it's still a nice outcome. I'm happy, and
yeah. Well, you were short. You made your move. You know that you had to make your move, and
I had to. Yeah, yeah, it's fine. I think it's.
You don't look too upset though, but I do think that's pretty cool that when you were playing 2 cent, 5 cent, watching Patrick Antonius, now you're sitting at a final table super high roller.
Feels like a video game, almost. Yeah. No, obviously it's great. It's my first televised final table, and playing against all the great players here, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit disappointed, but still, it's, I mean, a nice experience, and I enjoy it.
Well, disappointed with a great smile on your face. We love to see that. Thank you so much, Tobias.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back everybody to this 50k super high roller final table. There are 3 players left. They are playing for 362,000 euros for third, 500,000 euros for second, and a first prize of 800,000 euros. I am very glad and very privileged to welcome Mr. Jack Sinclair to the box with me.
Howdy.
How was the game? I know, obviously, for those of you like me who I've not come across Jack before myself, made famous by his World Series of Poker final table run, and I noticed you won a super high roller here yourself.
Yeah, a little while ago now, but
so certainly
very lucky back in August last year.
Good venue for you then. Did you play this event yourself? This one?
This one, no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't play any of the super high rollers on this trip.
Okay, so here we have Mustapha raising up King Jack on the button. Michael Ace-8 suited in the small. Decision here, or do you think he just plays this as a call?
Probably just a call here. Yeah, I mean, the 3-bet is totally fine here, but I'd probably prefer to do it with something like, you know, a wheel ace, like ace deuce 3 or 4 or 5.
Well, he has pumped it up, and he's 4x'd it. Wow,
and this is why I don't choose this hand, because you always run into a bigger hand. It's totally fine to 3-bet this hand. I get, you know, when you play 3-handed live, there can be quite a lot of, you know, image and metagame considerations, which, you know, a lot of players, you know, kind of ignore.
And with Timothy in this situation where it's gone 650 then 2.5, does he have options on his 4-bet size here? Do you think he's just going to jam?
I mean, I guess you could go less than all in with the plan that if the other 2 go all in, you could maybe fold.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, but that's pretty extreme. I mean, you'd have to be really certain that one of them has kings or aces.
Is there any way he can make a smaller bet here to induce Michael, or is Michael's bet sizing so big that if Timothy 4-bets, he knows that he's not getting it through?
No, I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, yeah. In general, you're just not gonna induce people to go bananas here.
It'll just be too optimistic, right?
Well, Timothy would have to be able to fold after making a 4-bet here. I mean, he would have to have such a bad hand, because, you know, he's going to be getting 2-1 pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, unless he makes it the absolute minimum.
So Michael's 3-bet size kind of stops him getting bluffed. Not that that would be his consideration, but it does stop Timothy bluffing. And of course, Michael does fold, and Timothy will pick it up. And that's a big pot at this stage. It's up 3 million chips.
That is a big pot. That's the other reason you want to jam. I mean, ace, you know, you might want to. If you're going to try and induce, you want to do it with the stone cold aces, you know, and not like ace king's just not a great hand. You know, ace king is fine taking down the pot free flop. You know, when you get called, you know, it's a flip most of the time, and then occasionally you get in versus ace queen.
And as we can see, the So tight at the top. 55 big blinds for Timothy in the chip lead, and Michael with 48 is the small stack. And there it is. That gives you all the information we need. We are at King's Casino in Rosvadov, Czech Republic, and this is the Party Poker Live Super High Roller. 50,000 euro buy-in, 47 players, 3 remain, battling for an 800,000 euro first prize. And of course, title.
There he is.
Here it is. Easy game. You just got 4-bet with this guy. Now he opens and you find the aces. Always a 3-bet here, or is this sometimes you can call? With these stack sizes, I guess it's always a 3-bet, right?
It depends. I mean, the aces is the best hand to trap with, always. Just because the flop is, you know, so you so infrequently get out flopped. Like, aces are just massively better to trap with than kings.
Right.
Because anytime there's an ace, you have to slow down a lot.
And he has elected to 3-bet, as we can see, 2.5 million.
Which, yeah, I mean, obviously, both options are fine. He did just get caught, you know, well, let's say caught. He 3-bet and then folded, you know, which doesn't necessarily mean he was bluffing. But, you know, if we want to go down the sort of leveling tunnel in this spot, Timothy's probably going to be thinking that he's not going to 3-bet too light here.
Yeah.
Because he literally just got caught. But then
he might go the other side, think, oh, he just got caught, so now he's more likely to do it because he doesn't think I'm going to be doing it.
Yeah.
This is the fun. I guess a lot of it comes down to how well these players know each other.
Yeah, and I don't know Michael too well, but my impression is that he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that goes to that next level and 3-bets like twice in a row.
Are you surprised by this call from Tim with the king 6 suited?
Yeah, a little bit.
Seems a little loose to me, but
king. The king in your hand is pretty bad. You dominated a lot. It's, you know, I mean, it is suited, but that's pretty much the only thing it's got going for it.
It is suited. I was suited. I had to play.
But yeah, it's a big 3-bet, and it's a big blind 3-bet, which, you know, always a little bit stronger.
Right, because obviously they're going to continue with most of the hands as a call.
Exactly, yeah. The big blind. It's just, you know, you have to make a conscious effort to find the bluffs in the big blind, because you can always just call.
Yeah, something I know personally I don't do enough. I very rarely 3-bet out the big blind. So any concern for Michael, you think, on this flop, or is that it's a pretty good one, right? Jack 9-9?
Yeah, totally happy with this flop.
There shouldn't be too many 9s in Tim's range. I guess he can have some jacks. And again, we've seen a lot of this all day and in the cash game of the day. A lot down betting, right? These guys proceeding with very small bets post flop, especially on these polarized boards.
Down betting, huh? Is that the new term?
I don't know. Someone told me that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is a little less than third pot, right? So, I mean, the pot was what, 5.3.
5.3. That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's small, but it's not like outrageously small.
Sure.
And you know, this board, he's going to bet a pretty high frequency. I mean, it is kind of a good board for Timothy's range. You know, he's got like a lot more Jack X and 9X.
Right, and he has King, Queen, Queen 10 kind of hands.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lot of continues on this board. I imagine he'll fold King 6 here.
And you are indeed right.
So yeah, I mean, Michael could have gone even smaller there, but you know, he bet 1.7. I mean, yeah, it's close enough to quarter pot that.
If they were to get it all in, any combination of these, it would leave one pair as an overwhelming chip leader, and the player set out as a short stack.
Well, shorter stack. I mean, they still have 50 big blinds.
Yeah, sure. Relative. It will be. So again, we're seeing this overall for more players limping from the small with a very strong hand in a three-handed game.
Yeah, well, some players will, and in some situations, will use a pure limp strategy in the small blind, which is obviously fine as well.
you have to do that stuff, right, when you're playing at this level. And maybe against weaker players you can be a bit more unbalanced, but playing these guys at this level, they're just going to notice when you do stuff, right? So you have to...
Yeah, I mean, partially that. And also sometimes, you know, sometimes the situation just calls for, you know, calls for limping, you know, due to ICM or...
Right. So Timothy has pounced on it, I mean, at 1.1 million.
Yeah, with the queen 4 off. I mean, this hand's, you know, perfectly fine as a check back. It kind of depends on your opponent's limping strategy. But, you know, I guess Timothy just felt like this was the moment for a nice look there from Timothy. So, wait, what?
What's going on here? Just that's 2.5 million in the last pot. Now I'm in a raised pot with queen 4 off.
Yeah.
Michael, of course, did call and has flopped middle pair. And Timothy be slightly wary of this board. If he knows Michael's limping a lot of hands. Jack 9-7.
Yeah, the Jack 9-7 definitely, you know, a very, very wet, connected board. You know, with all the middle cards. I mean, this board sort of hits every range pretty hard.
Right, so Timothy's raising range as much as Michael's calling range.
Yeah, it hits his raising range quite a bit, but you know that doesn't mean you can just go after it, because it also hits the calling range quite a lot.
Right.
So when you have such a whiff as the queen 4 off, I think it is a good idea to just give up. He might find a bet on this card. He's picked up a gutter, and the king is definitely his card.
Yeah, that's a good card for him to bluff at. Or maybe even hit a straight. Why not? Very deliberate, these guys. They're not wasting time. They're thinking so many different thoughts at each decision.
Well, this is a tough spot for Timothy, actually. I mean, like, sometimes queen high is going to be good here. You know, sometimes. And also he needs to think about what he's going to do on different rivers when he bets.
Right. So as we were talking with Marcel Lusk, we had him earlier, he was saying it's almost like chess. These guys are thinking move after move ahead, and even hands in advance. If I do this time, what can I do the next time? This kind of stuff. And he has elected to fire a bluff.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about is the sizing on this turn. I mean, with such a connected board, if he has a king, he's going to want to bet pretty big.
Right.
So he's just kind of thinking like, what, you know, which hands make sense to go big with, and how big. You know, like you could conceivably bet like close to full pot here.
And this was a tough spot for Michael, right?
No, Michael does pretty clear check call here. You know, with such a strong hand, you know, given that it's gone check, and then he's checked again, he's pretty close to the top of his range.
Right. Okay.
Definitely has to call. Now Timothy probably going to fire through here.
Yeah, this has to be one of his better bluff cards. Obviously, it's hard for him to represent a flush, given he checked back the flop, right? But
well, yeah, except he is checking back flush draws, as we saw with the queen deuce. I mean, a lot of players check back a flush draw in this spot, and you know, if he might check back queen 10 sometimes.
Okay.
Not that often. But he also represents a lot of 2 pairs on this run out.
Right, you can have a hand like king 7 or...
Yeah, king 7, king 9,
A7.
King Jack even could check back the flop, although it's unlikely. And then, you know, ace king would be the other big one. And, you know, maybe even ace queen.
Wow.
Yeah,
all
I mean,
in 2x pots.
This is pretty much like the nut hand to do this with as well. He has a club, you know, not a great one, but he has a club. And he has a queen. So he blocks like he blocks the snap calls, which is always good.
You're right. Okay. And also Michael's hand. If he thinks Michael has a raising range from the small, which he may well do, he would put ace 9 in it, right? So he's precluding some aces up combos, right?
Yeah, not too many players are raising ace 9 off from the small blind. I do it quite a lot, but yeah, that's because I'm a fish. So, and yeah, we haven't really seen any of them raise the small blind. Well, I mean, I haven't seen any of them raise the small blind at all, right? So
this literally, given that this is a really strong hand for Michael to have, this comes down to whether he thinks Timothy checks back a lot of flush draws on the flop, I guess.
Yeah, partially that. Also, whether he would jam 2 pair here. ace king, that is.
Right.
It also, I should also point out this is a good board for Timothy to check back aces on the flop, just because where this board is gonna be really tough to play aces on if you get check raised.
Okay.
So if he had red aces, he might check back this flop, so that he can call on like most runouts.
Obviously, a little bit less likely when Michael holds an ace, which blocks.
Yeah, that's true.
Only one combo of.
Well, okay, so same applies to kings as well. So
sure.
Let's give 4 combos of top and second set. And yeah, obviously like the flush draws are there as well.
This is a fascinating spot, and we haven't really seen anyone get a line yet. And this is a huge bet.
Michael calls. I guess he's thinking he's pretty much at the top of his range. After he checks the turn, he just like doesn't have much better hands than this.
Wow, and that's crazy. Timothy, who was our runaway chip leader, has just bursted out in 3rd place, running a huge bluff against Michael Zhang, who figured it out, made the call. So he will leave us in 3rd place with 362,500 euros for his efforts. I know, looking at there, he looks pretty disappointed, and I'm sure at the start of the final, he ran up to 20 million straight away. He must have been thinking he would do much better than this, but you don't think he won't feel too bad about that bluff, right?
He won't feel too bad about his river play, that's for sure. He might be a bit tilted about the fact that he decided to raise the big blind.
Right,
with Queen 4
got himself into the spot that he...
Yeah, it's very much it's obviously a very marginal hand to take as a raise there.
Well, with that, Michael Zhang from the UK is our huge chip leader. I guess 2-to-1-ish lead over Mustapha with just 4.9 million chips. Well, here we go. We can see the lead now, sure enough. 30 million plays 16 million, so it is 2-to-1. Timothy confirmed that out in 3rd place. Yeah, so Michael's came in as a relatively short stack, a little bit less than average. Didn't get off to the best start, sat there, saw a couple people bust out, and was the short stack. He had got a 3-bet jam through with King Queen, made ace 10 fold, which looking back at it now is a pretty good result for him if he goes on to win this tournament.
We are heads up here in Rozadov for the Party Poker Live Million Super High Roller event. I'm here with Michael Zhang, otherwise known as Chi.
Yes.
You are sitting pretty as a chip leader. This is a special moment for you. This is actually your first high roller final table.
Yes, it's all I ever dreamed of. I played these for the thrill of it, and it's finally happened. I haven't played many, but I'm blessed to be here.
That's so lovely. How are you feeling going into this final table?
I was feeling fairly good heads up. I've had a fairly fortunate final. Nothing was had one key flip and was short for the whole time, so it wasn't like I've always been building chips but it's looking forward to heads up. Heads up is probably one of my favorite games, so.
Lovely. Wishing you the very best. Thanks so much, Chi.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Won the tournament right there and then in a flip.
I think you typically, in my experience, you forget about it pretty quickly, to be honest. Like, especially when you're playing heads up. Like if you're playing full ring, right, and you lose a big pot, then you got some time to stew.
Right.
Like,
while the players are playing hands, you're just thinking about it. In this, you're just constantly in action. So
yeah, you've got to think about the next board. When I played Tony G heads up here, we had about, I think it was 3 or 4 all-ins and calls, for the title, and before we finally ended it. And I don't remember thinking about them for very long afterwards.
Right. See the mindset of the top pros. Don't stew. So that hand must have but continued the limp stretch in the button. Michael raised it up with ace 7. Next hand, Michael with the button with queen 9. Mustapha with jack 4 suited.
1.1.
And sure enough, we may well see a return to the button raisers standard.
Yeah, although he's added an extra 100k than when he was playing against Mustapha's shorter stack.
Right, so just over a min. And Mustapha takes the lead. Michael with second pair. Looks like there'll be some chips down in this pot.
Yeah, pretty good spot for Michael to check back though on this exact board. Just there's loads of stuff going on and your hand is, medium. It's mediocre. So you definitely, this board kind of encourages you to check back quite a lot. And I imagine Mustapha will go for a value bet here. His hand's not good enough to check raise. And, but it's definitely good enough to bet for value.
Right. And of course, he doesn't want to check and allow another diamond to come up for free, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't really want your opponent to check back a lot. And as we were saying earlier, Michael's turn betting frequency seems a little low to me. Just, obviously
yeah.
small sample size, but
As you were alluding to earlier.
6 call.
So, 6 million in the pot going to the river.
Michael obviously has no decision on the turn. And another diamond. But
Mustapha
2 pair for
improves
Mustapha.
2
I imagine
pair.
he'll just check and just close his eyes and calls. And call if
I'll make it
Michael were to bet. But I don't think Michael will bet.
Right. Because Mustapha's going to check call with so many diamonds, and he has showdown value, right, with his 9.
Yeah, the 9's one of his... I mean, he's not checking back the flop with a jack, very frequently at all. So in terms of 1 pair hands, this is like close to the top.
Well, he is reaching for chips. Is this I might be ahead, I might be behind, but I can definitely make some better hands fold move?
Yeah, pretty much.
4 million.
Ah, Mustapha folds, okay.
It does. It's a big bet.
That is a big bet.
6 million. Michael showing no signs of slowing down. Here we go then, Mustapha, ace-9 suited on the button. Michael, pair of 4s in the big blind. As you saw in the last graphic there, you're now playing 36 bigs effective.
All in.
6 all.
Okay,
Wow.
interesting.
Mustapha limped, Michael all in.
And this is what I was saying earlier, that a lot of players just have a massive amount of 2s, 3s and 4s when they go for the big all-ins.
Right. I mean, is Mustapha looking at this thinking, there aren't really any hands that are going to dominate me? Does he expect to be jammed on by ace-10 plus? And
Ace-10 and ace-jack off specifically might be in this range.
This is a real decision.
Yeah, this is a very tough spot.
And he has called.
He's gone for it.
So, for the second time, we are all in a flip for the title. Michael, with the chip lead, will win if his pocket 4s can defeat the ace-9. If not, Mustapha will take a commanding chip lead for the first time in this heads-up play. So, it will be the pocket 4s of Michael, looking for his first super high roller title. Mustapha looking for probably about his 20th. To the flop. Queen 5-7, 1 spade. Michael feeling pretty snug. Mustapha needs an ace or 9, running spades or running 6-8. Suppose there are some 2-pair counterfeit options.
Yeah, 5-7. That'd be pretty gross.
Mustapha not looking quite as happy as the last time. Turn 10 of diamonds, changes nothing. Mustapha will need to hit an ace or 9, or Michael Zhang will be our super high roller champion.
Well, he actually loses 2 outs for the because Michael has the diamond.
You're quite correct. He can no longer hit the ace or 9 of diamonds.
So, drawing thin here.
Just the 4 outs. 91% for the title. Here's the river. The Queen of Spades, Michael Zhang, is our winner of the 50k super high roller here in Rozvadov. Second place, Mustapha Kanit. A valiant effort.
Good game.
It was a fantastic game, fantastic match. We saw some pretty fun poker.
Yeah.
Michael's 3-bet with ace-8 on the 7-5 deuce flop, probably the highlight for me.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So
he deserved it after that, I think.
Michael looking pretty happy, like a man who's just won 800,000 euros, as he should be. There is Mustapha in second place, Felipe Ramos, obviously his good friend, who he knocked out in 4th place. Michael Zhang, winner, 800,000 euros. Mustapha Kanit, second for 500. Timmy Adams came 3rd, Tobias Ziegler 4th, Felipe Ramos 5th, Dietrich Fast 6th, and Patrick Antonius, the man himself, was our bubble boy.
Enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, I come to play these tournaments for the thrill of it, and what better than the 50k? I mean, tough opponents. I just enjoyed every aspect of it. And I had a short stack for basically most of the time. I had a few key hands and had a key double up with a flipped with Tobias, and then after that had a few tough decisions with Timothy. Jammed 2 times the pot on me, 3-handed. I made the call because I had basically the best hand I had, and yeah, from there had heads up, which I absolutely love, and everything kind of went fairly smoothly, I would say, given I had a short stack. I mean, I think I've doubled my total cashes, and it's by far the biggest, it's the second biggest tournament I've ever played. I've only played a few high rollers, and I mean, to win it, which one of my first ones feels incredible.
Congratulations to Michael then, the biggest win of his career to date. You get the impression there's plenty more to come from him. Plenty more to come from Rozvadov, that's for sure. Following the Super High Roller event, we have the main event where the winner is set to take home a cool €1 million. Keep them peeled for more action from the King's Casino Rozvadov, and we will see you next time.